Welcome. Today we're diving deep into the science of memory. We're going to explore how you can build a much more powerful mind using some fantastic insights from Barbara Oakley's A Mind for Numbers. The goal, to give you a mental toolkit for, well, total recall.
So let's start with this question. And to answer it, I want to tell you an incredible story about a guy named Joshua 4.
You know, Farr was just a regular guy, a journalist who had the same memory frustrations that we all deal with. But his life completely changed when he was sent to cover the U.S. Memory Championships and he started talking to the competitors.
That's what these memory champions told him. They swore they weren't born with some special gift. They just trained their brains using these ancient techniques. And that idea, it just lit a fire in him. So get this, within a single year, Foyer, the journalist with the self-described average memory, became the U.S. memory champion himself.
What his story really proves is that having a great memory isn't some kind of magic. It is absolutely a skill. And learning that skill all starts with understanding the two different ways your brain actually stores information.
So to build a better memory, you've got to know the tools you're working with, right? And the first step is realizing your brain has these two totally distinct modes for remembering things. Okay, so on one hand, you've got your working memory. Think of it like a frantic juggler who can only keep about 4 items up in the air at one time. It's temporary and it takes a ton of energy. But then you have your long-term memory. Now this is like a massive, sprawling warehouse with practically infinite storage space. The trick is you need a system to get things into that warehouse and, just as important, to find them again later.
So here's the goal. You want to package information into a neat, compressed little chunk. When you do that, a really complex idea only takes up one of those 4 precious slots in your working memory, which frees up all this mental space. But how do you get those chunks from the juggler into the warehouse for good? Well, first, you have to defeat the vampires.
Yes, you heard me right. Vampires. Your brain is actually designed to forget. Every single day, these little metabolic memory vampires come creeping along and they suck away the faint connections of things you've just learned. Now, it's actually a good thing. It keeps your brain from getting totally cluttered with useless junk. But to make a memory stick, you have to send a signal to your brain that this piece of information is important. And for that, you're going to need some special tools.
So let's stock up that mental toolbox. We're going to look at 3 powerful science-backed techniques to help you build memories that actually last.
First up is visualization. And this is a big one, because our brains are visual. They did not evolve to remember abstract equations or long lists of facts, but they are absolutely phenomenal at remembering images, especially images that are strange, funny, or even a little bit shocking. Let me give you an example. Trying to memorize the formula for force, F equals m times a, is abstract, it's forgettable. But what if you pictured a giant flying mule stomping on your couch, braying that formula at you? I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's the point. It's a bizarre, multi-sensory image your brain just won't want to let go of.
Okay, tool number 2. This is how you fight back against those memory vampires. Instead of cramming information all at once, you review it strategically over time. The key is to revisit the material just as you're on the very edge of forgetting it. Every time you do that, you make that neural pathway stronger, driving that memory deeper and deeper into your long-term warehouse.
Now this next one, this is a total game changer for most people. See, we tend to think of tests as just a way to measure what we know. But decades of research show that the act of testing yourself, of actively trying to pull information out of your own brain, is one of the most powerful ways to learn and strengthen a memory.
Every single time you force yourself to recall an idea, you strengthen that memory far, far more than if you just passively reread it in a book. It's really the difference between actually exercising a muscle versus just looking at a picture of one.
So, what happens when you put all of these tools together? When you really put them into practice? Well, let's look at the incredible work of a true master, the Nobel laureate and father of modern neuroscience, Santiago Ramon y Cajal. Cajal's method for understanding the brain was basically a perfect synthesis of all these tools. First, he would observe cells for hours under his microscope. Then, and this is key, he would recall, turning away from the microscope to draw these incredibly complex structures purely from memory. That's a powerful form of self-testing. Then he would compare his drawing to the real thing, noting every single error. And finally, he would repeat the whole process, again and again, combining that intense focus with spaced repetition and recall until his mental picture was absolutely perfect. That right there is how mastery is built.
Now, here's where it gets really, really powerful.
The knowledge that you build with these techniques, it's not trapped in some isolated little box in your brain. It connects.
This idea is called transfer, and it's pretty amazing. When you truly master a concept, when you create a solid chunk in one area, your brain builds a neural pattern. That same pattern can then be used to help you quickly grasp a similar idea in a completely different field, whether it's music or economics or anything else.
So what this means is that by deeply learning one thing, you're not just learning that one thing. You're building this whole mental library of patterns that makes it easier to learn, well, everything else. You become a more agile and creative thinker.
So you see, it's not a passive act. It's not about just highlighting a textbook or watching a presentation and hoping that the information just magically sticks in your head.
It is a creative act. With these tools, visualization, spaced repetition, active recall, you actually become the architect of your own intellect. You are literally, physically, sculpting the neural structure of your own brain.
We have the ability not just to learn, but to learn how to learn. And that's a true superpower. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.